Many years have gone since that gorgeous but cursed trailer heralded the world's coming of this game. The Dead Island 2 review you are about to read concludes a turbulent and, we imagine, stressful development for all parties involved. Before we start gutting this new game, regardless of how the end result is judged, Dambuster Studios deserves a lot of praise for bringing the ship to port. So, welcome to Dead Island 2, and it was a pleasure to meet you. Dead Island 2 is a multiplayer conversation game. Yes, you can play it with two pals, but it's like talking on the phone. We chat about what you did tonight and what you did, and he will bother you the correct way. However, when the noise rises, it is best to silence the talk and concentrate since it indicates that difficulties, many issues, are on the way. To be clear, Dead Island 2 can be played alone without issue, and it will keep you hooked for around 10 hours since, in the end, everything works. The graphics are pretty great, and, let's face it, spreading zombies is always satisfying. Except that something is lacking without friends, gossip, and gossip is missing because the adventure lacks bite. In Dead Island 2, you basically do two things: kill zombies 90% of the time and hunt for new items to kill other zombies the other 10% of the time. And so far, that's all right? Furthermore, employing these little but extremely detailed stages rather than the current gushing open worlds has a significant advantage: you constantly do something and never waste time. However, there is no progression, no exponential growth, no shift of cards on the table that displaces the players as Ravenholm did in Half-Life 2 or The Last of Us Part 2's most recent Skyscraper, where the infected break out of the walls and you may go shotgun heavy. It's not good to place such major productions in front of people, but we also see this sensitivity in managing emotions in many games that haven't made history for one reason or another. There aren't many surprises around here, which is a bummer. Dead Island 2, on the other hand, runs straight from start to finish, providing new components like new powers and crafting systems, but nothing that makes you feel like you're getting closer to danger. Indeed, thanks to the capacity to boost our power by recycling zombie pieces, which will be acquired about halfway through the game, we will become so powerful that the only threat to others will be us, as we will be immune to this new spectacular zombie outbreak. From a certain point on, Dead Island 2 encourages you to exploit rather than dread the zombie menace, a decision that may have been designed to conceal the constraints of the entire technical and fun infrastructure. There are some end-of-level monsters that are unlike the others, electrifying times when the music blasts and zombies appear everywhere, but it is still a question of fighting, and not through a complex or exciting system, but rather a very simple one. True, Dead Island 2 does a lot with little, but many of these issues were present in the first game, which also had a technical and graphic performance that was much below the norms of the time. At the very least, Dead Island 2 is undeniably modern, highly clean, and with a pleasant and consistent smoothness, albeit with minor drops in the coupe mode. However, in terms of gameplay, we are still stuck in 2006. Playing with elements such as electricity and fire, for example, is now a constant that is no longer shocking if done like in Dead Island 2. In the Dambuster game, you can open the pipe's tap to flood the surrounding area, and then use a customized weapon or electrical source, such as a vehicle battery, to quickly and safely burn loved ones. Barrels of water, similar to fuel cans, can be used to build trap pools where zombies can be attracted with appropriate bait and then detonated with a pipe bomb designed for the purpose. The most significant problem of establishing such a system is that it never truly allows for creative improvisation. You don't want to do it because you're a wicked genius. Neither are the upgraded weapons surprising, as they are similar to those seen and utilized in the original game as well as the two dying lights from Techland. The idea and style of the weaponry originated with Dead Island, so it's natural to find them here, but the repetition after what appears to be 3 games makes itself felt. The various abilities that will be applied to our character through the discovery and selection of specific cards are yet another demonstration that the developers have discovered a precarious balance, and are now afraid to damage him with more radical abilities, in order to distort more clearly a gameplay that remains, also for this reason, always too docile and harnessed. Is a double flying kick better than a single but less forceful kick, or is an explosion that chases away zombies while we use the medikit better than an explosion while we reload? Yes, skill cards allow you to create your own build, but it's always a little tedious. Even if the game uses many techniques to give us the impression of being overwhelmed, the number of zombies on screen, roughly a dozen, does not help in this regard. If I were to direct a zombie game, the first thing I would do is make sure there are enough zombies to give me the idea of a horde. The fight takes place by aiming at the part of the zombies' bodies that we want to injure first, a decision that is also influenced by the type of weapon used. A cutting weapon should be aimed towards the limbs in order to perform targeted amputations. A blunt tool, on the other hand, should be aimed at the body or the head. By changing the weapons on the scattered work tables, we will still be able to perfect them in order to fit them to the use we wish to make of them, such as increasing their strength and speed at the expense of durability and speed. After a few hours of play, armaments such as handguns and machine guns will surface, along with various upgrades and a large number of specific skill cards. Then additional abilities will take over, including a Fury mode that allows us to tear apart the surrounding zombies using only our hands. There are also cards for avoiding and parrying, but they cannot be used concurrently. Doing one of these two actions right before being hit activates a finishing move, which, depending on the weapon, will almost always start an almost always lethal execution. Hand-to-hand combat, like many first-person games, lacks feedback. This is especially true for individuals who don't want too much intricacy in the controls. Our character's arm and weapon will never cease slashing against a zombie's body, but will instead continue to slash based on the weapon's qualities and finishing the animation of each lunge. The motions of the zombies and how they are designed in Dead Island 2 will let us grasp the intensity of our blows. The opponents in this game are made up of layers. They have garments that break, skin that tears, flesh that tears, and finally muscles and bones that react realistically to the hits they take. The method works and is undeniably one of the game's strong points. Witnessing a leg dangling by a few flaps of skin while the zombie marches towards us after battering it with an axe is a dream for people who enjoy splatter and grand Gignol shows. Another notable point of the game is Hell A hellish Los Angeles. As previously stated, a fantastic job has been done graphically, but the secret of Dead Island 2 is that it has wonderfully caught the ambience, the mood, of the Californian metropolis. The colors, the light, the buildings, and the symbolic attractions are all or nearly all present, and when they aren't, the idea is present, which is sufficient. This makes it much easier to return to previously visited regions without becoming bored, which is almost usually the case if you also want to complete the extra tasks that the game gives along the mandatory path. Some of these aren't even obvious. For example, there's a treasure hunt tied to a Bel Air pool cleaner from the facility that we wouldn't have expected in a similar game, prompting us to explore more methodically and rationally. The narration is given to over-the-top characters, but not like in Ubisoft's latest Far Cry, where even crocodiles in t-shirts suddenly have a place. Dead Island 2's characters can become incredibly serious, and a light-hearted character up until a few moments before will catch you off surprise with a wonderful cinematic joke balanced to perfection a moment later. The narrative canvas, like the monologues, aren't particularly innovative, but they serve their purpose admirably. The game, among other things, provides 6 different personalities to imitate, each with specific recollections of a location or a moment, a background from which they will draw jokes, and a different manner of reacting to situations, which you will agree is a very good touch. The 6 different characters each have their own physical characteristics. They can be faster or stronger, have more or less stamina, although these variations are not noticeable once the game begins. Much more important are the different distinctive cards that these 6 characters will be able to activate and which will more concretely decide their strategy.